Chapter 45-54. When she went to the restaurant to work, she was like a machine. She only did those things out of habit and instinct. There were many guests in the restaurant every day. The surroundings were noisy, but it never reached her. Tang Tailin almost didn't communicate with her. They probably didn't talk more than 10 sentences in a day. She wasn't the type to cause trouble, and Tang Tailin didn't seem to have done anything wrong. Just like how she once told her parents that she might not be suitable for Tang Tailin. They hurriedly persuaded her not to think too much. Where could she find such a good man? She had nothing to say. No one could understand the pain in her heart. It wasn't until she got pregnant again that she discovered another shocking secret. Tang Tailin didn't like her. He still thought about men. The reason why he married her was that Zhang Jusheng forced him to. He needed a woman to carry on the family line for their family. She thought that this time, her family would definitely stand by her side. She told her family about this matter, and it was different from what she had expected. Her family still stood on Tang Tailin's side, saying that it was all in the past. Since Tang Tailin was willing to get married and didn't go out to fool around, he must be living a good life. She wanted to say that they were cheating her into marriage and to have a child. But her family said that they couldn't divorce over such a small matter. Wasn't Zhang Jusheng a good mother-in-law? Wasn't Tang Tailin a good man? Liking men before was a very small matter. It wasn't an affair. It wasn't a big deal. They already had a child. Besides, the child would be her child. No one spoke up for her. They all felt that she had a good husband and advised her not to do it. Your daughter is so smart. This is the first time I've seen my son so serious. Yu Yu's voice pulled Yang Yuxuan back to reality. It turned out that she had already walked out of the room and was outside. Tanghua was holding Xiefan's book. What made her speechless was that it was actually an arithmetic book. Xiefan was very proud, so she took advantage of this time to teach him how to be a human. As for bullying children, that didn't exist. She was also a child now. System, do you want to touch your conscience and say this? How is it? Tanghua patted Xiefan's head. These calculations are too simple. Xiefanjin pursed his lips and didn't say anything. He always felt that the other children of his age were especially stupid. He disdained to play with them, because they were very stupid. When he could do 3-digit addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, those children were either playing with dolls, playing with toy cars, or blowing bubble gum. Currently, he had no problem doing addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division for 3-digit and 4-digit numbers. Currently, he was learning how to do addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division for 5-digit numbers. Once he was familiar with it, he would begin to challenge 6-digit numbers. In school, he would always receive shocked and incredulous looks from the children around him, which made him feel very bored. Of course, he didn't mean to show off. He challenged this because he liked it, but adults always like to brag about their abilities. You win, Xiefan said. I haven't started to challenge the 6-digit multiplier yet. It might take another year. From today onwards, you are qualified to be my friend. Tanghua almost laughed out loud. What did he mean by qualified to be his friend? I'm better than you. Whether we become friends or not, shouldn't it be up to me? You, a loser, have the right to say that? Xiefan's face turned red. He pursed his lips and finally squeezed out a sentence. Then say it. The peak. Chapter 45-55. Tanghua looked at the awkward, proud, and stubborn little boy in front of her, and her mood became very good. Actually, you're quite smart, just a little bit worse than me, Tanghua said. She found that Xiefan was very nervous. At least, other than me, I haven't seen any smarter children of my age, so I'll allow you to be my friend. Xiefan felt a little awkward, but his eyes lit up honestly. Tanghua was smart enough to be able to calculate 6 digits. He hadn't even started yet, but she didn't even need to think about it. She could tell the answer just by looking at the numbers. She was very powerful. Did you also sign up your child for a mental arithmetic class? Yu Yu was very surprised. She did sign up her son for a mental arithmetic class, but the premise was that Xiefan liked it very much and was very talented in this area, so she supported it. Children who didn't have any talent in this area, no matter how hard they worked, were only a little better than ordinary people. Only talented children would be able to challenge more and more single-digit mental arithmetic. Yu didn't think that it was necessary for her son to participate in this kind of mental arithmetic competition, but she couldn't resist Xiefan's interest. When she heard Xiefan say that Tanghua could calculate 6 digits, she was really surprised. This little girl was only about 5 years old. She was really too young at this age. So she subconsciously thought that Tanghua was talented, and at the same time, she couldn't do without training. System. Wrong. The host is an old monster soul. With strong spiritual power and soul, what is a mere 6 digits? Yang Yuxuan was a little confused and shook her head. No, she just went to kindergarten. In fact, she felt a little guilty and suddenly felt very uncomfortable. She really felt sorry for Guogua. She didn't know that Guogua was so smart. Guogua, do you have a mental arithmetic class in kindergarten? Yu asked. Tanghua shook her head. No. Yu understood that this was a real genius. She said to Yang Yuxuan, Guogua is not simple. Raise her well and don't waste her talent. Tanghua refused. She just wanted to teach Xiefan how to be a good person, but she didn't expect that the psychologist would find out. I'll think about it. Yang Yuxuan touched Tanghua's head, thinking about something. Her daughter was so outstanding that she couldn't waste her talent. So, what should she do? Yu saw through Yang Yuxuan's dilemma and said, Actually, no matter what kind of talent one has, the most important thing is that children like it. They're still young, so it's best to do things based on their interests. Although talent was precious, she did not agree with confining a child to a circle just because of talent. Guogua will start primary school next year, right? Yu asked. Yang Yuxuan glanced at Tanghua and nodded. When Yu heard this, she immediately told him the primary school that Xiefan was currently in and the various benefits of this school. Yang Yuxuan was stunned and said, I don't know if I can get a number. Yu, on the other hand, wasn't worried at all as she said, Guogua should be able to go. Aside from the lottery, this primary school has special enrollment. With Guogua's ability to calculate 6 digits in her head at such a young age, she should be able to be recruited. You can pay attention to it this year and sign up when the time comes. I see. Yang Yuxuan made a mental note of this. Okay, thank you. Tanghua didn't directly take Yang Yuxuan home. Instead, she took her phone and found the private restaurant that the system had helped her find. She suggested that Yang Yuxuan eat there. Yang Yuxuan didn't refuse. In fact, she didn't lack money. Speaking of which, she still had premarital property. The apex. Tang Tailin didn't treat her as family at all. After being married for so many years, he had never taken the initiative to give her money. Speaking of which, Tang Tailin was not as good as Jiang Zhuxiang. At least Jiang Zhuxiang was willing to buy something for the child. As for the rest, there was nothing else. Tanghua pulled Yang Yuxuan. Yang Yuxuan patted her head and led her into the room. She sat there again, looking out at the blue sky and white clouds. With Tanghua by her side, the smile on Yang Yuxuan's face disappeared again. Mom, what happened to Guogua? Yang Yuxuan did not retract her gaze, but she did not ignore Tanghua either. Does Guogua want to go to the primary school that Doctor you mentioned? Guogua is so smart. If you're willing to go, Mom will help you keep an eye out. I'll help you sign up next year. Peak. Chapter 45-57. Yes. Okay, I'll remember it. Yang Yuxuan's voice was soft, but I don't know if I can wait until then. I can't bear to part with Guogua, and I want to take good care of you. If I can't take care of Guogua, what will Guogua do? Yang Yuxuan was in pain. She wanted freedom. She wanted to be free from everything. She didn't want to continue like this. She didn't know how to be free. She was so free, like a cloud falling from the sky. Guogua is so obedient and sensible. He even knows how to earn pocket money. You can take care of yourself, right? Tanghua held Yang Yuxuan's hand. I can take care of myself on the premise that you're by my side. If you're not by my side, other people will bully me when they see me. Yang Yuxuan was stunned. She had already imagined how a child without a mother would be bullied. Mom will try to stay with Guogua for a longer time. Mom, you don't like it here? Tanghua decided to persuade Yang Yuxuan to move out of this place. If she stayed here, Yang Yuxuan's condition wouldn't improve at all. Her efforts would be in vain. Jiang Zhuxiang alone was enough to push someone into the abyss. Yang Yuxuan was silent and didn't answer. Mom, I don't like it here either. Grandma doesn't like me, and Dad doesn't like me either. Dad leaves early and comes back late every day. He doesn't even look at me. The parents of my classmates come together to pick them up. I feel that my parents are different. Yang Yuxuan's heart was cold. She was miserable. Guogua only wants Mom. Yang Yuxuan couldn't hold back her tears. Tangwa quickly wiped her tears. Yang Yuxuan didn't know what to do. She knew that she was sick and that her condition was very wrong. She also wanted to get over it, but sometimes she just couldn't control herself. Mom, can we move to another place? Just you and me. Yang Yuxuan was thinking. Move to another place? She immediately thought of the consequences. Jiang Juxiang would cry and make a scene, and Tang Tailin would speak up for Jiang Juxiang. Her family would definitely know. They would say that she was pretentious and sick. They would all talk at once and ask her to move back. The people downstairs would probably also say that she was a pregnant woman who was causing trouble every day. No one would understand why she moved out. Mom, think about it. Tangwa didn't force him. She was ready to take the initiative. Tang Tailin couldn't forget that man, right? Since that was the case, she might as well help him. Yang Yuxuan had always been the one being criticized. She had been criticized countless times by the people around her, and everyone felt that she was being unreasonable. She was afraid of what would happen if she moved out. She was afraid that everyone would think that she was wrong. What if Tang Tailin was wrong? Tang Tailin had an affair with a man, and it was exposed in the end. Which man had been involved with him all this time? She had buried a bomb in the neighborhood. It was Li Yun. Li Yun's mother, Auntie Wu, was a blabbermouth. As long as they found out the truth first, Tang Tailin's reputation would be ruined. Tongzi, from today onwards, help Wen Lang and Tang Tailin remember each other. There must be something in their phones and social media accounts that they value very much. Make them inadvertently appear in front of them. People in Wen Lang's position will definitely pay attention to Tang Tailin's every move. Tangwa's consciousness fell into the system space. Qishao gave her some paper puppets. These things were very useful. I plan to make a paper puppet and let it seduce Tang Tailin. Help me register an identity. Register it as an orphan in a remote mountain area. Let this paper puppet become Tang Tailin's employee. She didn't want to destroy Wen Lang and Tang Tailin's relationship. She just wanted Wen Lang to feel threatened. It wouldn't be strange if he did something. When Tang Tailin and Wen Lang did something, she would leave evidence and let Li Yun know. Li Yun would definitely tell her family. When that time came, the entire neighborhood wouldn't be able to hide it. Perhaps this would agitate Yang Yuxuan, but it could be considered as breaking and building. With her watching over them, nothing would happen. Peak. Chapter 45-58. Little Fan, come out and eat. Yu knocked on the door and found her son holding a book with a serious face. She walked over and patted him on the head. Xiefan didn't seem to notice and continued to stare at the book in his hand. Tangwa was 2 years younger than him, but she knew how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide a 6-digit number. She had never taken a mental arithmetic class, and he was still stumbling on the 5-digit number. For the first time, he felt what failure was and what it meant to be surpassed. He wanted to catch up. Little brat, eat before you play. Yu gently patted the back of Xiefan's head. Even if you want to surpass her, you have to eat. Xiefan pursed his lips and put the book aside. Got it, Mom. Come quickly. Yu was speechless. You're obviously a child, but you act like an old scholar every day. You're not like your father, and you don't miss me. I even suspect that you're not his biological child. Could it be a mistake? The probability of that is 0. Xiefan analyzed seriously. When Mom gave birth to me, you were the only one in the delivery room. Dad arranged for people to be outside. It can't be a mistake. There was video recording the whole time. It would be strange if there was a mistake. If I had known, I wouldn't have told you this. Yu held her forehead and sat in her seat. Eat. I still have work to do later. Xiefan ate 2 mouthfuls of rice and asked curiously, what work? Is there a new patient? It's the auntie who took the child today. Xiefan responded and didn't ask any more questions. Her condition is already very serious. Now that she's pregnant, it's one disaster after another. It seems that she's 6 or 7 months pregnant, and can't be controlled with drugs. This is the most difficult and dangerous time for her, Yu said. I'll talk to her later. We talked for almost an hour today. She didn't mention what happened to her at all. She doesn't trust me. You take good care of yourself, Xiefan added. Patients don't feel safe. Yu said, do you dislike the food? If you don't want to eat, go back and play with your mental arithmetic. Speaking of which, little brat, what do you think today? Do you like to play with that little girl? Xiefan paused for a moment and thought of the time when he was punished by Tanghua. He pursed his lips and said, I will surpass her. Good luck. Yu didn't say any discouraging words. Her son had a strong personality and was smart since he was young. He was especially talented in arithmetic and had never suffered any setbacks before. This time, it wasn't bad to let him experience what setbacks were. After Yu finished eating, she went to the study and turned on her computer to send a message to Yang Yuxuan. Yang Yuxuan was a little surprised when she received the message, but when she saw that it was Yu, her current doctor, she still replied politely. Chapter 45-59. Now, Yang Yuxuan didn't get up to take a look, but she would still open her eyes and stare at the door. She would only close her eyes when she heard that there was no more movement outside. Tang Tailin usually came back after 12 o'clock. Sometimes, he would come back even later. He really didn't fool around with anyone, and it wasn't that the restaurant needed him all the time. He just didn't like Yang Yuxuan staring at him all the time. Yang Yuxuan fell asleep, but Tanghua was still awake. She closed her eyes and was communicating with the system in her mind about what to do next. The system had already established an identity for the paper puppet. She also planned to release another paper puppet. One paper puppet was an adult. She wanted to get to know Tang Tailin and lure Wenlang out. Because it was an adult, she needed the system to help register its identity. As for the other paper puppet, she planned to turn it into a child and let the orphanage take it in. This child was a nail that she had planted for the female lead, Meng Shi, and the male lead, Wen Ran. She only needed to wait for the right time to use him. After thinking about this, she quietly got up and took out the two paper puppets. She went to the balcony outside and dripped some blood on the two paper puppets. Following her will, the two paper puppets instantly turned into what she imagined them to be. Zhizhou Chinese one was an adult in his early 20s, and the other was a child around 6 or 7 years old. This was because older children did not need to be adopted. If he was still a baby at that age, who knew where he would be adopted? You'll be called Zheng Chun from now on. I've already registered your identity. Tanghua took out a stack of red notes and gave it to him. This was her pocket money. Take the money first. Go and get a new identity tomorrow. Your survival will depend on yourself. You'll only exist for 100 years at most, not too long. After you complete your mission, I'll set you free. Tanghua was very satisfied with Xing Chen's appearance. He was tall and muscular. He looked very strong. She even set up a character for him. He should be able to seduce Tang Tailin. Of course, she didn't really want Zheng Chan to do anything to Tang Tailin. She just wanted to attract Wen Ran's attention and add some fun to their lives. Your name isn't Yuan. You're a homeless child who doesn't know where you're from. Find a way to sneak into the orphanage. Tanghua didn't give in Yuan Hong any money, and the puppet wouldn't starve to death. You should familiarize yourself with this world first. Your task is to get close to Wen Ran and become his brother. No, it should be the kind of brother who treats him well and has a crush on him, but won't tell him. You should be the kind of brother who is absolutely loyal. Without my instructions, don't reveal it. But you have to make sure that once you reveal it, the other party will immediately recall everything that happened between you and him. Feelings had to be nurtured from a young age. Wen Ran would definitely like Mengshi. This was their destiny. However, within Yuan's appearance and the fact that he was willing to risk his life for Wen Ran, she didn't believe that Wen Ran wouldn't care. Even if Wen Ran wasn't bent, Mengshi would still have to reject him. The system remained silent. When the host started scheming, no one would be able to escape. Only Madam Host has the ability to set up such a long game of chess. All right, you guys can go. And Yuan, remember to grow up according to your age. It's best if you grow up to be more delicate in the future. Vertex. However, after she finished complaining, She found that everyone was looking at her with a strange expression, and no one agreed with her. Zhang Juxiang stood there awkwardly. Actually, I've consulted the doctor. Your Yushuan's lifestyle is actually healthier for pregnant women and children. Yeah, we're all with Yuxian now. Annie Jiang is too careful. Previously, when we went with Yuxian for a prenatal checkup, the doctor said that her condition was much better than before. Who said I have to stay in the house every day when I'm pregnant? It's just that you have to go out more often and buy something you like so that your body and mind can be healthy. Vertex. Chapter 4562. However, so many people thought that it was good, especially these old ladies. If it was really not good, they would not have agreed to let their daughter and daughter-in-law do it. Zhang Juxiang felt bored and decided to go home to watch TV. Recently, Yang Yushuan had been really infuriating. No wonder Yang Yushuan said that there was no need to prepare food for her. It turned out that she had prepared some maternity food. If she didn't cook, then so be it. She didn't even bother. I used to think that Yushuan had a good life. That's right. Some things really can't be judged on the surface. I've always been curious. Tang Tailin never comes out with Yuxian. It turns out that they don't get along at all. They don't get along, yet they still want her to give birth to a child. Judging from Jiang Juxiang's words, she won't be satisfied if she doesn't give birth to a child of her own. Does their family Tang have a throne to inherit? Zhang Juxiang usually has the nerve to say that, but Yang Yushuan is just like that. How much has she sacrificed? None of you noticed how bad Yuxian's condition was before. By the way, Xiao Yun, you said that Yuxian might be suffering from depression. I've been reading a lot of books about this recently. Combined with Yuxian's situation, it's really possible. Li Yun nodded. Not only that, a friend of mine from the hospital also told me that Yuxian seems to have registered in the psychology department. His wife is cold every day and doesn't care about him at all. How can he not have problems in his heart? There's also a man who looks forward to having a penis in her belly every day. He must be under a lot of pressure. Fortunately, Guagua is sensible. Otherwise, Yuxian's life would be even more difficult. Li Yun, I asked Guagua. Yushuan is often forced by Jiang Juxiang to eat fatty and greasy things. Jiang Juxiang is simply raising people like pigs. Actually, Jiang Juxiang didn't live here in the beginning. It was when Yushuan was pregnant with her first child that she moved here and never left. I heard that she boasted before that Tang Tailin bought her a house, but now that house, she gave it to her daughter's family to live in. It's fine to say that her daughter's family lives in it, but she also brought her parents-in-law to live in that house. An old lady said. Everyone was speechless. This was a bit too much. Yuxian was really unlucky to give up her house for her daughter's family and her parents-in-law to live in. Isn't it just bullying Yushuan for not knowing how to speak and being an honest person? Speaking of which, Yuxian's family background wasn't bad. For Tang Tailin to be able to marry Yuxian, it was already climbing up the social ladder. Yuxian was a city girl after all, while Tang Tailin was born in the countryside. His ability was not bad, but his foundation was not as good as Yuxian's. Actually, it's not that I'm looking down on his family background. It's just that since he's married to a girl, he should treat her well. In fact, these people didn't know that the reason why Tang Tailin's restaurant was so successful was mostly because when Ran had helped him a lot when he was in school. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for the restaurant to become so popular just by relying on the family Tang group. The startup funds would not even be enough. Dear host, the comments in the district have changed. Now, we just have to wait for when Ran to find out that someone is seducing Tang Tailin and then sacrifice herself. Tangwa sat on the seesaw and glanced at Xiefan opposite her. Xiefan seemed to find the seesaw boring as well. Just wait, when Ran will find out soon. Tangwa was not afraid at all. How could Wen Ran not appear? If Tang Tailin was really tempted by Yang Yushuan, Wen Ran might take other actions. Vertex. Next year, her younger sister would be born as well. By then, she would be able to start thinking about how to get Yang Yushuan and Tang Tailin to divorce. Oh, before that, he had to expose Tang Tailin and Wen Lang's relationship and ruin his reputation. Xiaofan, don't always take your little sister Guagua to play on the seesaw. Go play something else. Take your little sister Guagua to play on the swing, Yu said. Xiefan refused, but Tangwa stared at him and said, Go play on the swing? Xiefan, okay. I'll sit. You push. Xiefan, okay. The two of them walked to the swing. Tangwa sat on it, and Xiefan silently began to push. He didn't know how he ended up pushing a swing. How did you do it? Xiefan asked. Tangwa tilted her head. What did you say? You calculated 6 digits in your head. My mom said that you didn't take any mental arithmetic training, but you can calculate 6 digits. How did you do it? Xiefan asked seriously. Tangwa was silent for a moment. How did she do it? Her soul was strong, so she didn't need to think hard to find the answer. This was bullying. Maybe. It's talent. I didn't calculate it before, Tangwa said. Xiefan's eyes flashed. He knew that there were many smart people in this world, but he didn't expect to meet someone younger than him. Don't you have skills? Does talent need skills? Xiefan was frustrated. This was too much of a blow. System. Ha ha ha. The host is heartless. Top point. Chapter 4564. Tang Tailin had recently recruited a new employee. The new employee was tall and strong, honest, and could bear hardships. He came from a remote mountain area. It was said that he came out to broaden his horizons and came here after a bumpy journey. Unfortunately, he met Tang Tailin. Recently, the restaurant was preparing to release some high-end dishes, so he had to personally inspect the original ingredients. This new employee of Jiaocangshan followed him up and down, and he didn't complain at all. Tang Tailin was very satisfied with Tangchen. He would bring this employee with him for everything. And Tangchen, as Tangwa said, was more eager and grateful to Tang Tailin. He pretended to be naive, and Tang Tailin would naturally teach him things step by step. There was no need to be too ambiguous, and Wenlang couldn't stand it. Wenlang knew Tang Tailin's orientation. Even if Tang Tailin got married and had children, he wouldn't fall in love with a woman. But Wenlang couldn't stand a man who didn't look bad appearing beside Tang Tailin. In just half a month, Wenlang watched Tang Tailin's movements every day. He found that a young man appeared beside him and took care of this young man. He couldn't stand it. One night, Tang Tailin left the restaurant and was about to drive home. Actually, he didn't need to stay so late. The restaurant manager could just watch. He only needed to grasp the general direction. He went home so late because he didn't want to face the two people at home too early. He didn't want to eat with them either. He felt uncomfortable all over. When he saw Jiang Juxiang, he would think of her forcing him to get married and have children, and even threatening to jump off a building. When he saw Yang Yuxuan, he would think of enduring the discomfort in his heart and wanting to have children with her. After every time, he would feel a little nauseous, so he didn't want to see her. Tang Tailin walked to the parking lot. Just as he was about to open the car door, he was suddenly pressed down. He shouted, "Who are you?" That person turned him over. He was about to break free, and the two of them instantly became silent. After a long time, Tang Tailin pushed the person on top of him. "President 1, I'm going home. You don't say anything when you see me? It's been so many years. What else can I say?" They were already married and had children. What else could they say? Wenlang did not give up. He pressed Tang Tailin down and kissed him fiercely. After a while, he said, "All these years, I've been paying attention to you every day." Without waiting for Tang Tailin to resist, Wenlang pulled him into his car. "But you don't pay attention to me at all, and you even dare to smile at others. Is it because you think I'm old that you've taken a fancy to that young man?" Wenlang said through gritted teeth. "Dear host, it's a little spicy. If the system had hands, it would definitely cover its eyes." Well, the two of them are still considered married, right? Are they going to perform on the car just like that? Do you expect this kind of person to control himself? Tangwa was not surprised at all. After Wenlang met Tang Tailin, something would happen between the two of them. Wenlang was a very possessive person with a strong personality, while Tang Tailin's personality was slightly more passive. Because of family reasons, the two of them had no choice but to choose one to marry each other. The women who married Wenlang were mostly only interested in benefits. They did not care about Wenlang's past. In their circle, it was normal for them to have someone they liked before marriage, but they couldn't get married. Later on, they would still be together. Vertex. Many people are willing to live such a cold and emotionless married life, but it doesn't mean that this method is right. Yang Yuxuan. So, I wasn't wrong to want to end my marriage with Tang Tailin, even if he kept himself clean. Was it hard to find such a husband? Yu, you're not happy. What does having a good husband and a good man have to do with you? If he doesn't treat you well and makes you unhappy, then this marriage will be harmful to you. Which man would marry a wife and ignore her? This was called cold violence. Yang Yuxuan. I understand. Thank you, Dr. Yu. Vertex. Chapter 4566. Yu, what do you plan to do now that you've found out that they cheated you into marriage? Yang Yuxuan. My family said that Tang Tailin didn't mess around outside and broke off their previous relationship. They told me to accept reality. They also said that no one has made any mistakes and that it's fine as long as they change. In short, they said that it's not good for me to get a divorce and that I'll regret losing such a husband and mother-in-law. Yu, first of all, Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin hid Tailin's sexual orientation and cheated you into marriage. Just from this point alone, it's their fault. Whether they treat you well or not, they're still cheating you into marriage. It's unforgivable. Not to mention that they don't treat you well. Even if they treat you well, it's not an excuse to forgive them. Yu, if their actions are right, then can you think that it's fine for people who can't get a wife to kidnap a girl and treat her well? Yang Yuxuan, of course not. Yu, that's right. Besides, they don't treat you well. Your mother-in-law just wants you to give birth to a son. Tang Tailin just doesn't have the courage to be with the person he likes. He compromised with his mother and put all the pain on you. Their actions are terrible. Yang Yuxuan. Then what should I do? Yu, what do you want to do? Your current living environment is very unfavorable. If this continues, your condition will worsen. You can barely control yourself now, but in the long run, I can't guarantee that you won't do something unconsciously that you'll regret. You're pregnant and have a cute daughter. If something happens to you, what will happen to them? Yang Yuxuan. I want to leave my current environment, but everyone will think that I'm being unreasonable. Yu, life is lived by yourself. Only you know whether it's good or bad. When everyone thinks that something makes you suffer, you should consider that their advice might not be for your own good. It's just that they think it's good. Yang Yuxuan. Let me think. Yu didn't say anything else. She was just chatting with Yang Yuxuan as a friend. Yang Yuxuan's condition was good recently. If they chatted more, her condition would stabilize. At least, it wouldn't worsen suddenly. After chatting with Yang Yuxuan, Yu's expression didn't look good. It was as if it was going to rain. Xiefan looked at Yu's expression and walked over to give her a glass of water. Mom, you're angry with a strange patient again? Have a glass of water and calm down. If his father heard his mother's voice, he would definitely scold him for not taking good care of her. Other people's children were all babies, and he was just a nanny at home. Yu took the cup and patted Xiafan's head with a smile. Good boy. You are so obedient every time Mom is angry. If it weren't for the fact that being angry is bad for your health, Mom would be angry every day. The corner of Xiafan's mouth twitched. This idea was really strange. Your Aunt Yang's situation is a bit complicated. Yu shook her head and didn't say much. Xiefan didn't ask either. Instead, he recalled the little girl who was very happy sitting on the swing. He clenched his fists tightly. He had to calculate 6 digits in his head as soon as possible. He couldn't let a child look down on him. Early in the morning, Tangwa took Yang Yuxuan to do some skincare and makeup. When they were walking on the road, Yang Yuxuan suddenly asked her a question. Guogua, what do you think if Mom doesn't want to live at home? Tangwa was surprised. It seemed that Yu had made some progress. She hurriedly said, Then where does Mom want to live? Yang Yuxuan pursed her lips and said, I just don't live at home. I live somewhere else. Vertex. This illness had always existed, and it did not appear by chance. Recently, the smile on Yang Yuxuan's face had been growing more and more. Li Yun and the others were very gratified. In their opinion, There should be a part of it, right? Yang Yuxuan suddenly said to Li Yun, I want to move out. I'm going to give birth in 2 months. I want to move to a quieter place. Move out? Li Yun was surprised. Yang Yuxuan was a little nervous. She looked at Li Yun and found that she was just surprised. She nodded again. Yes, it's good to move out. I quite agree. It's good for you to change to a quieter environment. It's good for you and the baby. Live near the hospital. It'll be more convenient for you when you give birth. It'll be more convenient to go anywhere. Anyway, we have maternity meals, so we don't need anyone to cook. As for the cleaning of the house, just hire a part-time worker. Li Yun knew that Yang Yuxuan didn't lack money. In the past, she felt that Yang Yuxuan didn't pay attention to her appearance after getting married. Vertex. Chapter 45-68. Thinking about the environment she lived in, she probably didn't have the mood to dress up. This time, it was Yang Yuxuan's turn to be stunned. She thought that Li Yun would think that it was shocking for her to move out. Little did she know that all the pregnant women here sympathized with her. With her house, she might as well move out. However, they didn't say anything. They weren't as direct as Li Yun, but they didn't have any intention of objecting. Yang Yuxuan rarely experienced this feeling of not being refuted immediately. How should she put it? It made her more confident. After skincare and makeup, they went for lunch. After lunch, the group of pregnant women helped to find a place for Yang Yuxuan to live. They were very enthusiastic. After half an hour, they helped to find a house, paid the money, and signed the contract. It was very fast. Returning to the neighborhood, Yang Yuxuan felt that it was a dream. When she returned home, Yang Yuxuan was still a little hesitant because she had ordered a maternity meal. Now, Zhang Zhuxiang wouldn't make a table full of meat. Seeing Yang Yuxuan return, Heng Wangshu didn't like the look of it and said a few words in a strange tone. When Yang Yuxuan mentioned that she wanted to move out, Zhang Zhuxiang exploded. Hearing Zhang Zhuxiang's sharp voice, Yang Yuxuan didn't have much of a reaction. She was used to it. In fact, her heart was even calmer. It wasn't like before. Every time she heard Zhang Zhuxiang's words, her heart would be very uncomfortable and suppressed, as if it was about to explode. This time, she watched as Zhang Zhuxiang kept talking. She didn't react much. After Zhang Zhuxiang finished speaking, she said, I've already rented a house. You're rebelling. What's wrong with your house? Why do you have to move out? Zhang Zhuxiang was furious. If word got out, people would think that her mother-in-law did something to her. Ever since Yang Yuxuan became pregnant, she became more and more troublesome. Yang Yuxuan looked at Zhang Zhuxiang and said the words that had been buried in her heart for a long time. What's so good about this place? A mother-in-law who treats me like a pig and only wants me to give birth to a grandson. A husband who I don't even see once a day and doesn't talk to at all. He's cold and silent and comes back every morning. Is this good? Zhang Zhuxiang was stumped, but she quickly reacted. Isn't Tylin working so hard to support this family? Not a single cent of the money he earns has landed in my hands. Whatever I buy when I go out, I spend my own money. Support the family? I don't feel anything. Seeing that Zhang Zhuxiang was about to say something, Yang Yuxuan stopped Zhang Zhuxiang with one sentence. You know very well why Tang Tylin married me. He doesn't like me. He likes a man. He still can't forget that man. Don't think I don't know. When she said this, Yang Yuxuan only felt that she had vented her anger in her heart. If I had known about this, I would never have married him. It's you who hid it too well. You're cheating. Yang Yuxuan glanced at Zhang Zhuxiang and returned to her room. Zhang Zhuxiang was so angry that she clutched her chest. This was too infuriating. However, she couldn't refute Yang Yuxuan's words. It wouldn't look good if others knew about it. Regarding this matter, it was better to call the in-laws tomorrow. He hoped that they could persuade her to come back. If she didn't want to stay at home, what was the point of going out to live? Those who did not know would think that she was bullying her daughter-in-law. It would not be good for Tylin's reputation. The next morning, the workers hired by Yang Yuxuan came over to help her move some things that she needed. Under Zhang Zhuxiang's gloomy expression, she held on to Tang Guo's hand and left. When they arrived at the rented apartment, Yang Yuxuan stood in front of the window. She felt that the air was a lot fresher. Perhaps she should have moved out sooner. Does Guagua like it here? Yes, Tangua replied. Just as young Yushuan was about to say something, her phone rang. She picked up the phone and looked at the caller ID. Her smile faded a little. Mom. Yushuan, why did you move out? What's the big deal? Why do you have to move out? Can't we discuss it properly? You really want to anger your father and I to death. Yang Yushuan listened to the person on the phone nag for a long time. She waited until there was no more sound from the other end before she said, Mom, if I don't come out, I might die there. The summit. Chapter 4569. Yang Yushuan's words stunned Mother Yang on the other side of the phone. She couldn't say anything for a while because Yang Yushuan rarely refuted her. Her daughter had always been well-behaved, and they were very satisfied with her growth. From childhood to now, when she got married and had children, she always thought that her daughter's life was smooth and perfect. Many people envied her. That was why she stopped Yang Yushuan. In today's society, there were very few men who could find a family like Tang Tailin who had the ability and didn't go out to fool around. No matter what, it's not right to move out. Your mother-in-law should be angry now. What will the people in your community think of you? If she casually says something, your reputation will be ruined. Mother Yang persuaded. Yang Yushuan, Mom, do you want me to live well? Yushuan, what are you thinking? Of course, I want you to live well. Otherwise, I wouldn't persuade you to go back. You have 2 children now. One is going to primary school, and the other is going to be born. If there are any family conflicts, what will happen to these 2 children? Mom, I can live well if I live outside. Yang Yushuan was very persistent this time. Perhaps she had never received so much support before, so she wanted to try. From childhood to adulthood, her life was arranged by her parents. It was indeed smooth, and there were no bumps. Unlike her classmates, there were always accidents in the middle. If she hadn't met Tang Tailin on her blind date, but someone else, she might have been able to live the rest of her life as her parents had wished and live a smooth life. However, she met Tang Tailin, the person who wanted to push her into the abyss. You child, when did you become so stubborn? Mom, didn't you say that you want me to live well? If I go back, I will only live a good life in the eyes of others. If I come out, I will live a good life in my own eyes. Yang Yushuan's words made Mother Yang somewhat unsure of what to say. Yushuan, what happened? Tang Tailin doesn't like me. I told you a long time ago that he likes a man. He still hasn't forgotten that man. You said that he is a good man, but this is not for me, but for the person he likes. You said that he is clean and honest, but in fact, he is not for me, but for that man. Tang Tailin agreed to marry me and have children with me just to deal with Jiang Zhuxiang. Jiang Zhuxiang only wants me to give birth to a son. Whether I was pregnant with Guagua or now, Tang Tailin didn't accompany me for a prenatal checkup. Since we got married, except for when I wanted a child, he came home every night after midnight. Unless I opened the door, we might never see each other. Mom, do you really think I'm living well? Mother Yang listened to Yang Yushuan's words and felt that Tang Tailin was a bit too much. She didn't know the details. Of course, she didn't know the details. But she didn't know the details. She began. Her daughter had also told her that Tang Tailin used to like men. She thought that it was because he was young and immature. Now that he had broken it off, it was fine to live a good life. She, mother, mother, him. Yang Yushuan didn't say anything more. As long as Mother Yang didn't bother her and let her move back, she didn't want to deal with it. The reason why he called back was because he had gotten back together with his lover. When Lang had decided to take him on a cruise for half a month, not to pick high-end ingredients. Jiang Zhuxiang didn't understand these things. He was just looking for an excuse. He was already married and had gotten Yang Yushuan pregnant. It was time for him to be free. The ticket was for the night of the day after tomorrow. Tang Tailin was still a little tired and planned to sleep a little longer. Meanwhile, at the family Tang estate, Li Yun sat at the side and listened to Annie Wu and the others gossip. She was playing with her phone when a call suddenly came in. She quickly picked it up. Is this Madame Li Yun? Li Yun was stunned. Could it be an advertisement? But she still didn't hang up. If it was an advertisement and a swindler, she would definitely mess with the other party. I'm Li Yun. You are? Vertex. Chapter 4571. It's like this. Madam Li, congratulations. You have won a family ticket for a cruise for half a month. Madam Li, please tell us the address. We will arrange for someone to mail the cruise ticket to you immediately. The cruise will depart the day after tomorrow at 8 p.m. It will depart from East City. Li Yun was stunned. She won a cruise ticket? What did she buy to win a cruise ticket? Li Yun hurriedly asked and understood. The last time she went to the supermarket, there was an event at the supermarket. The first prize was a family cruise for half a month. She was too lucky. The aunties in the district were also jealous. She was really lucky. It was a cruise for half a month, and it was for the whole family. That meant that as long as there were no more than 5 people, everyone could go. The next day, Li Yun received a boat ticket that would allow the whole family to travel for half a month. This boat ticket could allow 5 people to go. I wonder what kind of sparks will Li Yun's family create with Tang Tailin and Wen Lang. Originally, no one could win a cruise ticket. For this kind of event, there were some big prizes that couldn't be won. So, she asked the system to do something. It was also because she knew about Tang Tailin and Wen Lang's actions that she thought of this idea. Li Yun was really not bad. She would definitely bring back a surprise to the district. Currently, Li Yun's family had gone to E-City and were preparing to board the cruise. Tang Guo was still accompanying Yang Yuxuan. Their activities were the same as before. Ever since they came out, Yang Yuxuan's mood was much better. Furthermore, the day before yesterday, Father Yang and Mother Yang had gone to Family Tang District. They heard that Tang Tailin had gone on a business trip and could only return empty-handed. They had asked Yang Yuxuan where she was staying, but she didn't want to say. The couple had no choice but to go back first. They would call Yang Yuxuan every day. So far, nothing had happened. They planned to wait for Tang Tailin to come back and settle this matter. Li Yun's family was already on the cruise. They were having a good time. This cruise was extremely luxurious. The cruise tickets they got allowed them to go to every district. The cruise was too big. They could only play floor by floor. Until they reached the entertainment city on the cruise. It was more like a gambling city. Oh my God. This is where the real rich people come to. When Auntie Wu heard the voices of those people adding chips, she was extremely agitated. Why were these people adding millions of chips? They were too rich. If he lost, he would lose tens of millions, or even hundreds of millions. Oh God, I can't take it anymore. Auntie Wu quickly pinched her philtrum and warned the Li family that they could only watch and not gamble. Li Yun and the others hurriedly nodded. They were just taking a look. Wouldn't their hearts ache if they lost so much money? Their hearts ached just looking at it. After walking around for a while, Li Yun suddenly saw a familiar person. She covered her mouth in shock and pulled Auntie Wu. Mom, look. To be honest, Tang Tailin didn't know anyone in the neighborhood. So even if Auntie Wu and the others were standing in front of him, he wouldn't recognize them. That's Tang Tailin, right? Li Yun whispered. Why is he here? Didn't he say that he was going to get high-end ingredients? There's something fishy about this. Lower your voice. Don't let anyone hear you, Auntie Wu said. She had already hung her phone around her neck and turned on the camera. This way, no one would suspect that she was filming something. Li Yun couldn't help but give her mother a thumbs up. Her mother was really amazing. She would never say that the phone hanging around the old lady's neck was old-fashioned again. Fuck, who was that man? She actually pulled Tang Tailin and kissed him? Oh no. Does Yuxuan know about this? I suspect she knows. Whether she knows or not, Yuxuan is very unlucky. Peak. Chapter 4572. Mom, should we tell Yuxian about this? Li Yun's family returned to the room and looked at the video taken by Auntie Wu's phone. It was very clear. It was all the interaction between Tang Tailin and a man. The two of them were intimate and unrestrained. They did not care about the people around them. In their opinion, it was a little eye-catching. Do you think Jiang Zhuxiang knows about this? Auntie Wu snorted coldly. Jiang Zhuxiang is Tang Tailin's mother. How could she not know what kind of person her son is? Previously, I thought that Tang Tai-lin was a gentle person who did not speak much and never communicated with us. He left early and returned late. He did not recognize us before. But look at him and that man. To put it bluntly, they look like two slutty little hoofs. Li Yun tugged at Auntie Wu. Mom, these words are too harsh. Harsh? It's wrong for a man to have an affair. Tang Tai-lin's matter is even harder than having an affair. Didn't you realize that he's the one at the bottom? We have to tell Yushin about this. However, we have to be tactful. Xiao Yun, test Yushin first and ask her if she knows about Tang Tai-lin. Auntie Wu's face was full of suspicion. I actually suspect that Yushin knows a little, but she can't tell outsiders. Do you think her illness has something to do with this? This Tang Tai-lin is too outrageous. Li Yun scratched her ears and cheeks. If you want to have an affair with a man, don't get married. Isn't this cheating? Auntie Wu's gaze fell on her son-in-law. If you dare to do such a thing, I promise that I'll skin you alive. The innocent son-in-law quickly begged for mercy, saying that he only liked Li Yun. How could he do such a thing? If his sexual orientation was really different, he would definitely not get married. That's fine. Auntie Wu was very concerned about this matter because Li Yun and Yang Yuxuan were close. She was very concerned about depression. She was also a person who lived and learned. She would read books and was not an ordinary auntie. She somewhat understood the gay community, which was why she was even angrier. Because she had heard that a gay wife was cheated into giving birth to a child. In the end, she was infected by a gay man and suffered unspeakably. Xiao Yun, chat with Yushin online now and test her. Li Yun was assigned a task. With a pitiful heart, she immediately contacted Yang Yuxuan. Rotten Book Network on Yang Yuxuan's side. When she saw some beautiful photos that Li Yun suddenly sent over, she also replied to the other party's message. As the two of them chatted, the topic went off track. Li Yun finally decided to indirectly ask about Tang Tai-lin. Yang Yuxuan's mind was very sensitive. She directly asked Li Yun what was going on and whether she had discovered what Tang Tai-lin had done. Li Yun still didn't dare to tell her the truth. She only asked her if there was anything wrong with Tang Tai-lin. For example, he treated men differently. Chapter 45-73. Auntie Wu said, looks like Yuxuan knew about it long ago and kept it a secret. This girl is so silly. She should have just left when she found out about this kind of man's true colors. Mom, she has that illness and Tang Tai-lin hid it too well. If we didn't know her well, would you think that Tang Tai-lin was a bad person? Unless someone helped her, she wouldn't be able to get rid of him. Li Yun said, this Tang Tai-lin is really a jerk. Jiang Zhuxiang is the same. She should know her son very well. I can only say that Tang Tai-lin hid it too well. What did he mean by keeping himself clean? It turns out that he was fooling around with men. Auntie Wu said, men who cheat are so disgusting. Tang Tai-lin is the most disgusting. Li Yun looked at Auntie Wu and finally understood why her father was so honest. At this age, the aunties outside didn't even dare to look at him. Li Yun sent some photos to Yang Yuxuan. Yang Yuxuan looked at the photos of Tang Tai-lin being intimate with a man. She wasn't angry, but she felt a little nauseous. Tang Wu saw that Yang Yuxuan's emotions were still stable, so she secretly sent a message to Yu Yu and told her about the situation here. Yu Yu sent a message to Yang Yuxuan. As Tang Wu expected, Yang Yuxuan told Yu Yu about Tang Tai-lin. Yu Yu was so shocked that her jaw almost dropped. This Tang Tai-lin was too disgusting, wasn't he? She chatted with Yang Yuxuan for a while. Yang Yuxuan was very proactive this time and said what she thought in her heart. She wanted to divorce Tang Tai-lin. She couldn't bear to live with such a person under the same roof and in the name of husband and wife. From the day she moved out, she suddenly felt that she could choose a different life. Yang Yuxuan was getting better. Tang Wu had already noticed this. Now that she looked at Tang Tai-lin's photos, her illness didn't worsen and she was even willing to get rid of him. Tang Wu agreed to divorce. When Yu Yu heard Yang Yuxuan's decision, she also agreed. Yang Yuxuan's decisiveness meant that her illness was getting better. This matter couldn't be delayed. It wasn't good for Yang Yuxuan and might worsen her illness. First Chinese network, if she could get rid of Tang Tai-lin as soon as possible, she could get a new life. Yu Yu, I can introduce a lawyer to you. You can entrust the lawyer to handle this matter. Yang Yuxuan didn't refuse. She was also very tired and didn't want to suffer. It would be best if a lawyer could help. Yu remembered that Tanghua had told her that she hoped that she would help Yang Yuxuan and then give her all her pocket money. She felt funny and a little distressed. Yang Yuxuan was actually a little lucky to have such a sensible and cute daughter. After hearing Yang Yuxuan's decision, Tanghua asked the system to include some videos of Tang Tailin and Wenlang. As long as it was a video of the two of them being intimate, it would be included in the system. After packing it up, he sent it to Yang Yuxuan's email. Although some private videos could not be used as evidence, it was good to show the Yang family and the Tang family. Just look at Tang Tailin. When they were married, the way she moved around under another man's body would probably shock them. When Yang Yu received the video package, she also felt a little strange. The name of the file attracted her, Tang Tailin's incident. Yang Yuxuan chased Tanghua out of the room. Tanghua guarded the door and asked the system to monitor Yang Yuxuan's situation. Unexpectedly, Yang Yuxuan was very calm the whole time. She wasn't affected by the intensity in the video. Yang Yuxuan didn't watch the whole video. She only watched part of it, but it was enough for her to understand that disgusting man. In the video, there was still a lot of time. It was all in the marriage. She wasn't angry because she didn't like Tang Tailin for a long time. She knew that this person wasn't good. It was the people around her who said that this person was good. She first dialed Mother Yang's phone. "Mom, I plan to divorce Tang Tailin. Come over with Dad. We can discuss this matter together." Without waiting for Mother Yang to say anything, she dialed Jiang Juxiang's phone and said the same thing. If it was anything else, Jiang Juxiang would definitely ignore Yang Yuxuan. However, Jiang Juxiang was still very concerned about the divorce. She quickly ran over. The summit. Chapter 4574. The family Tang residential complex was a lot closer and would only take half an hour to get there. Jiang Juxiang ran all the way and took less than half an hour. Yang Yuxuan heard someone knocking on the door outside and glanced over. She didn't need to look to know that the only person who would knock so hard and not care about the fact that she was pregnant was Jiang Juxiang. As long as she didn't die and was pregnant, Jiang Juxiang didn't care about her. She walked over and opened the door. Jiang Juxiang looked at Yang Yuxuan and said, "Yuxuan, why are you getting a divorce all of a sudden? What are you doing? Can you joke about something like this? Aren't you pregnant? Come in first. We'll talk when my parents arrive." Yang Yuxuan didn't call Jiang Juxiang mom anymore. At the beginning of their marriage, she was willing to call Tang Tailin that way because at that time, she really liked him. However, all her love and passion had long disappeared under Tang Tailin's indifference. Jiang Juxiang felt that Yang Yuxuan was a little different today, but she didn't think too much about it. In her impression, Yang Yuxuan had always been gloomy and quiet. She wasn't particularly likable. As long as she was at home, she would definitely sit there without moving like a block of wood. With such a personality, how could her Tailin change his heart? How could she make Tailin like her? If it weren't for the fact that divorce sounded bad and it was troublesome to get married again, especially since Tailin might not be able to accept another woman, Jiang Juxiang really wanted to change her daughter-in-law. "Have a seat." Yang Yuxuan poured a glass of water for Jiang Juxiang and sat on the other side. Tanghua was next to her, but she guessed that Yang Yuxuan would chase her back to her room soon. After all, Yang Yuxuan was going to play some scenes that weren't suitable for children. Just now, she saw Yang Yuxuan fiddling with the projector. Next to Yang Yuxuan's hand was the remote control for the projector. She only needed to gently press it, and the scenes she prepared would be played. 2 hours later, the doorbell rang. Without a doubt, the Yang family had arrived. Yang Yuxuan went to open the door. As expected, the people standing at the door were the Yang family. Apart from Father Yang and Mother Yang, her brother and sister-in-law were also there. Yang Yuxuan greeted them softly and invited them in. Mother Yang's first words when she came in were, "Yuxian, what happened to you? Divorce is not a small matter. You might be impulsive and..." "That's right, Yuxuan. You're willful at home, and you have Dad and Mom to back you up. You can make any decision without any problems. But now that you're married, Guagua is only 5 years old, and she's about to give birth. If you divorce at this time, the child will suffer. Young Yuxuan was not impatient because they did not know the truth. They only thought that she and Tang Tailin had a small conflict, so it was understandable. She knew that a divorce at this time might affect the child. However, if she didn't get a divorce now, she didn't know if she could still hold on. Was it really a good thing for her child to grow up in that environment? With Tang Tailin's character, would he educate her child properly? She did not expect Jiang Juxiang to be able to teach the child well. Tang Tailin was a failure. The failure she was referring to was not Tang Tailin's sexual orientation, but his cheating, irresponsibility, avoidance, and cowardice. While her mind was clear, she had to get a divorce. She had to get rid of this deformed family and this deformed husband. Husband? In the video, Tang Tailin did not look like her husband at all. Vertex. Chapter 45-75. When Tang Tailin was with her, his expression was one of restraint, forbearance, impatience, and even disgust. When she was with that person, not only would she laugh, but she would also have a bit of debauchery, a bit of intoxication, and a very strong desire. She didn't expect to see that kind of strange expression on Tang Tailin's face. Yang Yuxuan's silence made the Yang family suddenly silent. They seemed to feel something. Yang Yuxuan first showed a diagnosis report to the Yang family. The Yang family stared at the diagnosis report and were stunned. Moderate depression. Yuxuan. Mother Yang shouted and didn't know what to say for a while. Brother Yang and sister-in-law Yang didn't say anything. They knew about this illness. Although it didn't happen to them, the internet was so developed now that they could more or less understand it. Besides, Yang's sister-in-law and brother Yang's education level wasn't low. Even Yang Yuxuan's parents were high intellectuals in their era. They felt that Yang Yuxuan's divorce wasn't good. They were afraid that she would be willful and regret it in the future. But when they saw the diagnosis report, all their persuasion stopped in their throat and they couldn't speak anymore. It was already moderate. If it wasn't controlled, it could worsen at any time. At that time, Yang Yuxuan might die at any time. Some time ago, I thought every day that if I could be as free as the clouds in the sky, I wouldn't have any worries. I don't have to divorce, I don't have to explain to you, and I don't have to care about everyone's opinion. Yang Yuxuan said lightly. She touched Tang Guo's head. My daughter is so obedient. She's so obedient. If she loses her mother, I don't know if she will be bullied. Dad, Mom, I want to live. Only by living can I take care of my daughter. Do you think that if I get divorced, I will be as miserable as I am now? Since I married Tang Tailin, he has never taken care of the child for a day. Do you know? He doesn't like my child at all. He even hates children and thinks that they shouldn't exist in this world. The Yang family was speechless. How could it be? Jiang Juxiang jumped up and said, How could it be? How can it not be? Since the child was born, has Tang Tailin looked at her seriously and held her? Did he buy her a small gift? Did he come back early for her birthday? No. Yang Yuxuan's smile was full of sarcasm. Every day, I always go home after midnight because I don't want to face everyone at home. Your son is such a person. Why do you want him to harm me? Jiang Juxiang found that Yang Yuxuan scolded her, and the Yang family didn't speak up for her. How could the Yang family help Jiang Juxiang again? Just a diagnosis of depression was enough to show that Yang Yuxuan was not doing well in the family care clinic. The only reason she got such an illness was because she had been wronged in the family care room, and it was not caused by just 1 or 2 days. This kind of illness could be said to be easy, but it could also be said to be difficult. Guogua, listen to Mama and go into the house first, okay? Yang Yuxuan touched Tang Guo's head and said gently, Wait for Mama to call you, then come out. Tang Guo nodded in agreement. After all, she was just a child. She had to avoid this kind of situation. After Tang Guo went in, Yang Yuxuan returned to her seat. I want to show you something. Yang Yuxuan picked up the remote and turned on the projector. The Yang family and Jiang Juxiang were a little confused. Wasn't she going to talk about the divorce? But when they saw the first scene on the projector, they were all stunned. Climax. Chapter 45-76. The first image was of Tang Tailin sitting in front of a long table. There was still time on the photo. Jiang Juxiang looked at the time and was stunned. Didn't Tang Tailin go to look for ingredients? At that moment, Jiang Juxiang and the Yang family were guessing that Yang Yuxuan wanted a divorce because Tang Tailin went to gamble. Jiang Juxiang gritted her teeth. Gambling was something that could be done? She planned to give Tang Tailin a good lecture when he came back. He definitely couldn't do that. He actually dared to cheat her into gambling. No wonder Yang Yuxuan wanted a divorce. Yang Yuxuan observed their reactions calmly. She pressed the remote control again and projected the second image. Tang Tailin was still at his original position, but there was a man beside him. When they saw the man clearly, she pressed the remote control again and a new image appeared. Jiang Juxiang and the Yang family stared at the image in disbelief. That man actually pulled Tang Tailin up and kissed him. It looked very intense. Yang Yuxuan looked at the Yang family. Mom, a dog can't change its habit. Do you see that? Tang Tailin likes men. This can't be changed. I feel terrible living with such a person. I don't know what to do. To be honest, I've never seen such an unrestrained and passionate Tang Tailin. It's indeed different when he's with the person he likes. She turned her gaze to Jiang Juxiang. They're so in love. Why did you let him marry a woman? You even hid Tang Tailin's past and sexual orientation. This is cheating. You lied to me. The Yang family was already angry. When they saw the intimate images of Tang Tailin and Wen Lang, Father Yang and Brother Yang almost jumped up and hit them. They had heard from Yang Yuxuan that Tang Tailin liked men. They thought that as long as he changed and was willing to live a good life, it was still possible for him to not do it again. Looking at Tang Tailin now, they felt like they were being slapped in the face. Jiang Juxiang didn't know what to say. When she saw these images, she felt her blood pressure rise. Tailin actually lied to her and went to play with this man. She was so angry. Maybe this is considered an ordinary affair? Yang Yuxuan said sarcastically. You think you can continue living with him after changing? That's what you're thinking, right? She looked at Jiang Juxiang as she spoke, and her gaze swept across the Yang family. Looking at the Yang family members' angry faces, she knew that the Yang family members would not persuade her to continue living with Tang Tailin in the face of the truth. The Yang family was satisfied with Tang Tailin because he was motivated, hardworking, willing to work hard, and kept himself clean. But now, Tang Tailin was having an affair, and he was having an affair with a man. Their image of a perfect son-in-law was shattered. There's more to come. Yang Yuxuan put away her mocking expression and pressed the remote control hard. The image that was projected was a video. Everyone saw Tang Tailin cuddling with a few men in the room. The clothes on his body were constantly being removed. They all widened their eyes. Although they could imagine what would happen between Tang Tailin and a man, seeing it with their own eyes was a different feeling. When Jiang Juxiang saw that Tang Tailin was on the receiving end, she couldn't help but scream. She wanted to rush over and snatch the remote control from Yang Yuxuan. Mother Yang's speed was very fast. She went over and held Jiang Juxiang down. Vertex. Chapter 4577. When Father Yang and Brother Yang saw this, they came over to help. Jiang Juxiang was held down tightly. She could only watch as her son's ugly behavior was seen by everyone. It was so embarrassing. At this moment, she understood that Tang Tailin and Yang Yuxuan's marriage couldn't be saved. She even had to consider not letting these images spread. Otherwise, how would the people around her look at her son? If this spread, how would they be able to face others? Would she still be able to walk around in the neighborhood? She didn't know what those people with big mouths would say later. Jiang Juxiang was held down tightly. Yang Yuxuan played many images in succession for everyone to see. Some were at home, some were in the car, some were in the garage, and some were in the field. Yang Yuxuan looked at these videos calmly. She was expressionless. Instead, she was a little relaxed. Tang Tailin's disguise as a good man was finally exposed in front of her parents. They no longer had a reason for her to catch this so-called good man. It was funny. Tang Tailin was usually a cold and elegant person. Under that man's body, he actually moaned so lewdly. It really refreshed her understanding. Jiang Juxiang stopped struggling. Although her eyes were red, she didn't want to see those images. However, The sounds coming from them still made her suffer. Mother Yang finally couldn't bear it and shouted, "Divorce!" She couldn't afford to have this kind of son-in-law. She was wrong. She thought that Tang Tailin was a good man. How could such a Tang Tailin bring a happy life to her daughter? She was wrong. She was really wrong. She looked at Yang Yuxuan and found that Yang Yuxuan's calm face didn't change at all. It was as if she had already expected all of this. What made her even worse was that she found that Yang Yuxuan was no longer the obedient daughter she was proud of. I've already asked the lawyer to deal with the divorce. I'm just informing you today. When Yang Yuxuan said this, it was as if she had opened a door. In the past, it was her parents who arranged her life. She felt guilty and unfilial for not listening to her parents. Now, she suddenly understood that it wasn't like that. When she was strong and made choices for her life, no one could stop her. Dr. Yu was right. Her life was her own choice. It wasn't happiness like what her parents thought. She felt happy. That was true happiness. "Yu Xin, turn that off," Father Yang said tiredly. He also felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. He didn't think that the previous diagnosis report was exaggerated at all. Tang Tailin was not a good person. He had harmed his daughter. "Where is Tang Tailin?" Big Brother Yang said. "After I find him, I must make him shed a layer of skin." Eldest sister-in-law Yang pulled eldest brother Yang. "Don't be rash. If you hit Tang Tailin, the other party will blame it on you and harm Yuxuan. And the man with Tang Tailin, I feel that he's not ordinary." Seeing their reactions, Yang Yuxuan didn't feel much. "As long as you don't stop me from getting a divorce, you don't have to do anything. My lawyer will handle it for me." She turned off the video and let go of Jiang Zhuxiang. She quickly ran to Yang Yuxuan and begged, "Yuxuan, I agree to your divorce, but you have to delete those videos. How about it? Don't spread these videos. It's not good for anyone." Yang Yuxuan looked at Jiang Zhuxiang's pleading face. This was the first time she saw Jiang Zhuxiang lowering her head. It was for Tang Tailin, even if she was extremely disappointed in her son. Vertex. Chapter 4578. I won't expose these videos. If I expose them, it'll be an invasion of privacy. Compared to Tang Tailin, I know what propriety, justice, integrity, and shame are. Jiang Zhuxiang was mocked until her face turned red and white. She wanted to say something, but Yang Yuxuan interrupted her. "These videos were sent to me by someone else. There are other people who know about Tang Tailin. As for what they will do, I don't know." "No matter what, Tailin is still Guogua's father," Jiang Zhuxiang said. She was panicking. "Yuxuan, can you think of a way? Since the other party sent the videos to you, they must know you. They might even be your friend." Yang Yuxuan's mouth twitched. "They might not be friends. They might be victims like me. That man should be about the same age as Tang Tailin. Why don't you guess that it was his wife who sent the videos to me?" Jiang Zhuxiang was stunned. This possibility still existed. "You can leave. When Tang Tailin comes back, my lawyer will contact him. If he doesn't agree, I can only sue him." Yang Yuxuan drove everyone out. The Yang family didn't stay either. The Yang family stood at the door. They still couldn't let go. "Yuxuan is blaming us." Mother Yang wiped her red eyes. Who would have thought that Tang Tailin was that kind of person? He hid it so well. "That illness, can Yuxuan bear it? I heard that she has to take medicine. Yuxuan is pregnant now. She definitely didn't take medicine." Mother Yang panicked when she thought of this. She grabbed Father Yang and asked. Father Yang didn't know much about this. He only said that he would come over every day to visit Yang Yuxuan and bring her some food. Mother Yang was relieved, but she still felt terrible. When Tang Tailin returned home, he received a phone call. It was the lawyer that Yu found for Yang Yuxuan. When he heard that Yang Yuxuan wanted to divorce him, he was stunned. Before he could react, Jiang Zhuxiang, who had just returned from grocery shopping, came up to him and gave him a tight slap. "How did I give birth to you? Why are you so disobedient? Are you worthy of your mother for the things you've done?" Tang Tailin covered his face. The lawyer seemed to have heard something and told him to check his email. Yang Yuxuan sent him some information and hoped that he would agree to the divorce as soon as possible. Otherwise, they would be waiting for Yang Yuxuan to sue them. When that happened, It wouldn't look good for everyone. Yu's lawyer naturally did his best to fight for Yang Yuxuan's interests. Tang Tailin endured the pain and ignored Jiang Juxiang. He opened his mailbox and downloaded the file. After reading it, his face turned pale. Before the lawyer hung up, Tang Tailin requested to see Yang Yuxuan but was rejected. The lawyer said that he was representing Yang Yuxuan. She was already pregnant and couldn't be agitated. Tang Tailin agreed to meet with the lawyer to discuss the divorce. Jiang Juxiang did not stop him. He guessed that Jiang Juxiang had also seen those videos. He was frustrated and angry. After meeting with the lawyer and seeing the contents of the divorce agreement, Tang Tailin's face turned even uglier. That doesn't make sense. What right did Yang Yuxuan have to take half of his assets? She didn't mind giving the child to him. He didn't like the child at all. He didn't have a problem paying child support, but he wasn't willing to take half of his money. The lawyer smiled. What does Mr. Tang think is unreasonable? You can think about it first. If you don't agree, the judge will make the decision. At that time, you will get at least half of it and compensate Ms. Yang for mental damage. Your behavior constitutes marriage fraud. I believe that the judge will make a reasonable decision. You may lose more than this. I want to see Yang Yuxuan. I'm sorry, Ms. Yang can't see you right now. If you have anything to say, you can talk to me directly. I'm representing Ms. Yang to talk to you. Climax. Chapter 45-79. Tang Tailin was very unhappy that he couldn't see Yang Yuxuan, but there was nothing he could do. Jiang Juxiang asked him how the divorce was going. At this point, Jiang Juxiang knew that Tang Tailin's marriage couldn't be salvaged. Yang Yuxuan didn't live in the place she used to live. She went over to take a look before, and the neighbor said that she hadn't been back for a few days. Jiang Juxiang wanted to ask her to stay, but Yang Yuxuan didn't give her a chance. She was afraid that she would anger Yang Yuxuan and ruin Tang Tailin's reputation. So be it if they got a divorce. Jiang Juxiang didn't look like she could have a son anyway. If she could really give birth to a son, they would all be connected by blood. Could it be that the other party would sever the blood relationship between them? But when she heard Tang Tailin say that Yang Yuxuan's lawyer had agreed on the division of assets in the divorce agreement, Jiang Juxiang jumped up higher than anyone else. She made a big fuss and definitely didn't agree to it. If I don't agree to the divorce, Yang Yuxuan will sue me, Tang Tailin said impatiently. He looked at Jiang Juxiang with blame. If you didn't insist that I get married, would things have come to this? Jiang Juxiang was silent and felt a little wronged. After a while, she said, what can you do if you don't get married? You're getting married when you're of age. You can't really find a man, right? If you find a man, won't our family be cut off? If the neighbors know about this, won't they be embarrassed? When we return to the village for the holidays, how will the villagers look at us? Tailin's mother is doing this for your own good. I don't want to talk about this with you. What Tang Tailin hated the most was Jiang Juxiang saying that it was for his own good. If she hadn't made a fuss about hanging herself, how could he have married a woman that he didn't like and even physically hated? Yang Yuxuan may have other evidence in her hands that can prove that we cheated on her. So, even if it drags on for a year or so, she will still win the lawsuit. Of course, Tang Tailin didn't want to give out the money, but facing reality, whether it was the agreement or being sued, there was no room for negotiation. If you can delay it, then delay it. At least until Yang Yuxuan gives birth. Jiang Juxiang suddenly had an idea. What if she gave birth to a fat boy? Besides, some things can't be solved just by dragging it out, right? Maybe after half a year or a year, Yang Yuxuan would change her mind and not want a divorce because she pitted the two children. In fact, Tang Tailin was still unwilling to pay. This was all his money. It had nothing to do with Yang Yuxuan. However, when they got married, the marriage laws didn't stipulate so much. Furthermore, the restaurant was only recently built. Even the big house they lived in now was bought after they sold their original small house. Chapter 45-80. Yang Yuxuan was also stunned after knowing Tang Tailin and Jiang Juxiang's attitude. When the Yang family found out, they almost scolded. After all, They were cultured people and could not scold them. Since that was the case, Yang Yuxuan could only ask the lawyer to help her sue Tang Tailin. Just the video of Tang Tailin being intimate with men in public was enough to prove that he not only cheated on her but also cheated on her. Yang Yuxuan handed over another piece of evidence to the lawyer. It was a recording of Tang Tailin and his mother at home. It was a recording of their conversation a long time ago. Originally, after knowing Tang Tailin's sexual orientation, she told the Yang family that she wanted to let them hear the recording. Unfortunately, she was interrupted at that time and kept it in her phone. It was only recently that she dug it out. This recording was made at home, and it could be used as evidence. Now, she could finally openly tell everyone that Tang Tailin had cheated her of a marriage. In this recording, there was an argument between the mother and son. It could completely prove that the mother and son hid the truth of the matter and cheated her into marriage. As for the evidence of Tang Tailin's extramarital affair, there was too much. Yang Yuxuan still decided not to show up and let the lawyer handle everything. She should have enough evidence. However, with Yu Yu's reminder, she still kept it for herself in case something else happened. Yu Yu's worry was not wrong. When Lang found out about Tang Tailin's matter, he decided to help him and planned to bribe Yang Yuxuan's lawyer. However, this lawyer was friends with the Xie family and Xie. When Lang's bribe was useless, Tangwa felt that when Lang was dishonest. If not for waiting for Mingxi to grow up, she really wanted to teach Wen Lang a lesson in advance. For a company like the One Corporation, there was definitely something dirty. As long as she moved her fingers slightly, she could make the other party fall into trouble. This time, she did not do anything. She just caused some trouble for Wen Lang and caused him to lose 2 projects. In other words, she helped the One Corporation's competitors snatch those 2 projects. This caused Wen Lang to make a mistake in his decision and temporarily could not take care of Tang Tailin. Yang Yuxuan's first divorce lawsuit would be rejected according to the normal procedure. Then, Yang Yuxuan waited for the second lawsuit. A few months later, Yang Yuxuan gave birth to a healthy baby girl in the hospital. Tangwa often sang to her little sister. She accidentally used a sound attack, which made the baby very obedient. When she came out, she slept soundly and did not make any noise at all. After Zhang Zhuxiang knew that it was a girl, she had no intention of fighting for the child at all. She didn't even come to see the child. Although Yang Yuxuan knew that the second child was a girl, she was still very happy to see her daughter. According to Zhang Zhuxiang's temperament, if it was a boy, there would definitely be a lot of involvement. It was good that it was a girl. Zhang Zhuxiang didn't care about girls, which was exactly what she wanted. When she recovered, she would continue to work and raise the child herself. Yang Yuxuan was afraid that Tangwa would be jealous, so she often comforted Tangwa that even if she had a younger sister, she still liked her. This made Tangwa a little dumbfounded. She was not a real child. She felt that her task was arduous. In addition to taking care of her mother, she also had to take care of her sister. It was really a busy and fulfilling world. When it was time for the second lawsuit against Tang Tailin, Yang Yuxuan still did not show up and hired a lawyer. As for Tang Tailin, he did not remember that Yang Yuxuan had a child at all. The peak. Chapter 4581. In the courtroom, Tang Tailin's expression darkened as he watched the lawyer speak in an orderly manner. The lawyer even took out Yang Yuxuan's diagnosis report and invited people from the same neighborhood to testify. The witnesses were Li Yun's family. They said that Yang Yuxuan did not lead a good life. Otherwise, how could she have gotten that illness? They also said that they met on the cruise. There was also the clear recording. It made Tang Tailin speechless. He thought that Yang Yuxuan had a high chance of winning, but he did not expect that he would not be able to fight back. Through the lawyer, Yang Yuxuan took a lot of Tang Tailin's money. Tang Tailin thought that Wen Lang would help him, but Wen Lang's company had some problems recently, so he could not ask about it for the time being. When the divorce case was over, Wen Lang's side was almost done. Seeing this, Wen Lang really loved Tang Tailin. He used his own money to give Yang Yuxuan his share. Yang Yuxuan did not care about this. She just wanted to fight for her dignity. Now that she won, many people already knew that she was tricked into marriage and that Tang Tailin had cheated on her. Tang Tailin's share of the money was what she deserved. There was also Tang Tylene's compensation for her emotional distress and the one-time maintenance fee for her 2 daughters. She did not mind. She still had to raise her 2 daughters. The money came at the right time. After the lawsuit was over, young Yuxuan used the money in her hands to buy a house. After all, she could not always live in a rented house. She had rented another house for many years. It was not very spacious, but the tenant was a good person. He was very straightforward and had children. She could not suddenly kick him out. Since she had money, it was better to buy a bigger house. Yu was the one who introduced her to buying a house. She heard that it was an internal discount. Young Yuxuan took advantage of it. Do I still need medicine to control my illness? After giving birth, young Yuxuan had been thinking about this matter. The Yang family and Yu had suggested that she feed the children formula. Now that things were almost done, she asked, "How do you feel now?" Yu asked. Young Yuxuan was stunned. Actually, after getting busy, she had not been in a daze for a long time. It was not like before when she could not concentrate and her memory was scattered. "You're getting better." Young Yuxuan felt it, but you still asked her to take the medicine for a while. It did not need to be too heavy. A little was enough as a supplement. Young Yuxuan took the medicine for about a month, and you asked her to stop. In fact, young Yuxuan herself could clearly feel that it was not easy for her to be distracted now, and she would not be distracted. Her whole heart was on her 2 daughters. Mother Yang spontaneously came over to help her look after her daughter, and young Yuxuan didn't refuse. Mother Yang felt guilty in her heart, so she didn't say anything else. Young Yuxuan named her younger daughter Yang Ji. As for changing Tangwa's surname, young Yuxuan didn't think about it at all. When she thought about it, she felt that Tangwa was a good name. Changing it to Yangwa didn't seem right. However, she still asked for Tangwa's opinion. After Tangwa heard about it, she quickly rejected the name Yanghua. Young Yuxuan did not insist on it. In her opinion, there were thousands of people with the surname Tang. There was no need to insist on changing a name. At this time, Tangwa was about to go to primary school. According to the previous discussion with Yu, young Yuxuan decided to take Tangwa to primary school to take the special student exam. "Don't be nervous." Xiefan looked at Tangwa, who was waiting next to him. He saw that Tangwa was a little faster than last year. She was almost catching up with him. He felt a sense of crisis. She was better than him in mental arithmetic and grew faster than him. Chapter 4582. When the teacher asks you what you can do, you just have to show him what you can do. Xiefan patted Tangwa's shoulder indifferently, like a little adult. "When you pass, I'll buy you a doll." Tangwa looked at Xiefan with disdain. Who would play with such a childish thing? Xiefan choked. "Childish? Didn't they say that little girls like dolls? Then what do you want?" Xiefan had a lot of pocket money and didn't spend much at all. He thought that buying a gift was easy. "I want to play on the swing and seesaw." Xiefan was speechless. Wasn't that childish? "When you pass, you can go," Xiefan said with a straight face, as if he had agreed to something very difficult. It was the swing and seesaw again. It was fine if it was the seesaw, but when it came to the swing, it was always her swinging and him pushing. Tangwa successfully passed the exam and became a primary school student with special skills. She showed her mental arithmetic ability and a little talent in music. Soon, Tangwa began her busy primary school life. Not only did she have to study, but she also had to train her special skills, mental arithmetic, and learn some musical instruments. Young Yuxuan didn't lack money, so she still had the money to buy musical instruments for her. She wasn't lonely in school at all. Every day when it was time, Xiefan would naturally wait at the door of the classroom and take her to the cafeteria to eat. On the first day, Xiefan waited for her at the door of the classroom and said coolly, "My mom asked me to take care of you." Although he looked cool, when they arrived at the cafeteria, Xiefan worked hard as the errand boy. Xiefan's classmates' jaws dropped when they saw this. The classmates didn't dare to ask Xiefan who this beautiful little girl was, but it didn't stop them from gossiping. Was she Xiefan's sister? These little boys saw that Tangwa was pretty and wanted to play with her. They even wanted to give her candy and toys, but Xiefan glared at them coldly. The little boys felt very wronged. Couldn't they play together? Student Xiefan was really fierce. After the first time, there would be a second time. Xiefan habitually went to Tangwa's classroom after school and took her to the cafeteria to eat. Every time Xiefan looked at the crowded queue, he would frown and knock on the table next to him, asking Tangwa to sit there and wait. "You're so small. If you go in, you'll be gone. I'll have to find someone later. It's very troublesome." "Are you saying that I'm in trouble?" Xiefan denied. "No, it's them who are troublesome." Xiefan looked at the long queue, obviously referring to this. Tangwa smiled. "Thank you, Brother Fan. I'm hungry." Very soon, Xiefan carried the plate of rice and quickly walked to the second student by the window. He took out something from his pouch and gave it to the student. The student was pleasantly surprised and quickly carried the plate to the last student in line. Tangwa took a closer look and didn't expect it to be a red note. "He's a bit of a prodigal. System. Host, you're still children. It's not good to be worried about money now, right?" "You've misunderstood." When Tangwa was in the 3rd grade, she met Meng Shi. Meng Shi was a very sociable person. After meeting Tangwa, she came to play with Tangwa every day. She was very envious of Tangwa. Every time there was a program, she could go on stage to perform. Little did she know that Tangwa was very regretful now. She shouldn't have shown her talent in music. Now, whenever there was a program, the teacher would ask her to prepare with a smile. As a result, she was already a celebrity in the school when she was in the 3rd grade. At the top. Chapter 4583. She didn't reject Meng Shi's approach and treated Meng Shi the same way as the original owner. She would share everything with Meng Shi. Meng Shi's family didn't treat her well, so she didn't eat well at lunch. Tangwa would share some meat with her. Xiefan was very impatient with Meng Shi. He wouldn't help Meng Shi get food. He thought that Meng Shi's appearance ruined his deep friendship with Tangwa, so he didn't like her. Fortunately, Tangwa didn't ask him to help Meng Shi get food. Meng Shi didn't seem to think too much and followed Xiefan to get food every time. At first, she would strike up a conversation with Xiefan. Later, she found that Xiefan always had a sour face, as if everyone owed him 5 million yuan. Meng Shi was still a little afraid of him, so she started chatting and laughing with Tangwa. Xiefan didn't like to smile in front of others, but he just didn't like it. Only when he was alone with Tangwa would his expression be better. Almost everyone knew that Xiefan had a bad temper. The only person who could get along with him was Tangwa, the school celebrity. When Ran wasn't in this school, when Meng Shi and when Ran met, it was already in junior high. When Ran could go to that junior high because of Wen Lang. Wen Lang was the school's director and had invested a lot in the school. That school was a combination of junior high and senior high. Although this school was a private school, its facilities and teaching staff were all top-notch. In the plot, the original owner was able to go to this school because Tang Tailin suddenly felt that it was good to have a bloodline. He shifted his attention to her and asked Wen Lang for help. As for Meng Shi, her family background wasn't good, but she was hardworking and got into this school with her top grades. This time, it was easy for Tangwa to get into this school. Xiefan's goal was also this school. Xiefan was 2 grades higher than Tangwa. When he graduated, he looked at Tangwa with a little reluctance. On the day of graduation, Xiefan introduced 2 friends of Tangwa's who were in the same grade as her. Tangwa actually knew them. However, they had been warned by Xiefan when they wanted to play with Tangwa, so they didn't dare to appear in front of Tangwa. When Tangwa went to the Xie family's gathering, she also saw these 2 people. Her family members should be friends with the Xie family. From now on, they'll be the ones to get food for you. Xiefan looked at the 2 of them. Can you complete the task given to you? No problem, boss. The 2 boys didn't refuse at all. They were very excited as if they had received a mission that could make a lot of money. Xiefan said to Tangwa, it's more crowded to get food. In the future, after school, they will come to look for you. Just sit there and wait like before. There are so many people, and you're so small. You'll be squeezed out as soon as you enter. What Xiefan was most proud of was that back then, when Tangwa was almost taller than him, he did all kinds of things every day and finally managed to keep his reputation. He had been developing over the past 2 years. It would not be easy for Tangwa to surpass him. In another 2 years, he would develop again. He specially flipped through books on human growth. It should be impossible for Tanghua to surpass his height. Just like that, Xiefan went to junior high school. However, every Friday, he would come to this school to wait for Tanghua. Tanghua's classmates all liked him. They were envious that she had such a stinky little brother by her side, but they didn't dare to approach him. Another 2 years passed. Tanghua also went to junior high school. Mengshi also worked hard and went to junior high school together. Their results were even better than in the storyline. In the second year of junior high school, Zhang Juxiang appeared in Tanghua's sight. Zhang Juxiang had aged a lot. She stood at the school gate and waited for Tanghua to finish school. Ever since Yang Yuxuan and Tang Tailin divorced, Tang Tailin couldn't get married again like Zhang Juxiang. Moreover, many people now knew about his situation, so it was impossible for them to introduce him to anyone. After so many years, Zhang Juxiang finally remembered that she still had 2 granddaughters who were related by blood. If there were no accidents, she would only have these 2 granddaughters in her life. When she found out that Tanghua's sister, Yang Ji, had the surname Yang, Zhang Juxiang dismissed the idea of looking for Yang Ji and turned to look for Tanghua. This was the granddaughter who had inherited her old family Tang surname. Tanghua, why aren't you walking? Have you seen your stinky little brother? Mengshi saw Tanghua stop and look around. Didn't your stinky little brother go to participate in a competition? Soon, Mengshi also saw Zhang Juxiang standing at the school gate and was a little puzzled. Zhang Juxiang quickly rushed up and looked at Tanghua with a face full of excitement. She couldn't help but tear up. Peek. Chapter 4584. Guogua. Zhang Juxiang looked at Tanghua with snot and tears. Mengshi couldn't help but look at her and asked Tanghua in a low voice who Zhang Juxiang was. She's my grandmother. This was a blood relationship. It couldn't be broken. Moreover, Zhang Juxiang was still useful. Since she came looking for her, she didn't have to be polite. She wanted to see if Mengshi would make the same choice. Tanghua didn't intend to escape. Zhang Juxiang came looking for her because Tang Tailin had gone through a divorce and wouldn't agree to Zhang Juxiang's remarriage. It wouldn't be easy for him to remarry. After all, his reputation wasn't good in the small circle. No family would be willing to marry a girl into such a family. So it's your grandmother. Why didn't I hear you mention her? Mengshi saw Zhang Juxiang's expression and automatically imagined a lot. Your grandmother must have not seen you for a long time and missed you. Then I'll go back alone and won't disturb you. Tanghua noticed Mengshi's envious gaze. After all, Mengshi's grandmother either hit, scolded, or locked her out. She would never have a grandmother like Zhang Juxiang, who bought snacks to coax her granddaughter. With a face full of envy, Mengshi waved goodbye to Tanghua and left. What are you doing here? Zhang Juxiang wiped her tears. I'm just here to see you. Guogua, I miss you. What happened back then was a moment of folly. No matter what, we can't break off our relationship. I'm really happy to see you doing so well. Tanghua only found it funny and felt that Zhang Juxiang was a little pitiful. But this pitiful and sad thing was all caused by her. Zhang Juxiang's daughter was like an ingrate who kept asking her for subsidies. She was even thick-skinned enough to let her daughter live in the retirement house. Speaking of which, this old lady still doted on her daughter. She also forgot that Yang Yuxuan was also a daughter that others doted on. Beautiful book. It was fine that she raised a son with a different orientation, but she forced him into a marriage scam. The relationship between the mother and son fell to a freezing point. If she didn't insist on a grandson, there wouldn't be such a tragedy. Yang Yuxuan would have a normal family. At least Tang Tailin wouldn't be at odds with her. Speaking of which, this family was really the same. They were indeed from the same family. I'm going home. Tanghua walked towards a car, and the driver quickly got out to open the door for her. It was worth mentioning that Yang Yuxuan used the remaining money to start her own business. Of course, Yu and Tanghua helped her out from time to time. After so many years, Yang Yuxuan's company was doing better and better. Of course, Yu was one of the reasons. Many of Yang Yuxuan's business deals were fought for by Yu. Of course, this was also because Yang Yuxuan was capable and sincere. The results she produced satisfied the Xie family and made them willing to work with her for a long time. At first, it was Yu's face. Later, it was Yang Yuxuan's personal charm. Now, Yang Yuxuan had completely entered the Xie family's business circle. Calculating the time, it was almost 10 years. 10 years was really a long time. Yang Yuxuan had indeed put in a lot of effort to reach this level. The current Yang Yuxuan was confident and bright. She was a female CEO that everyone admired. She had countless pursuers, but none of them could enter her eyes. Tanghua had been paying attention. Indeed, Yang Yuxuan didn't like anyone. If she liked someone and the person was a good person, she didn't mind playing matchmaker. As for whether she needed it or not, it was still up to Yang Yuxuan. Tanghua walked into the car. Jiang Zhuxiang was wiping her tears behind her, which attracted a lot of attention. Peak. Chapter 4585. She didn't chase after her and looked pitiful. Tanghua didn't have much sympathy. Jiang Zhuxiang wouldn't give up so easily. If she guessed correctly, Jiang Zhuxiang would often come to see her pitifully. She didn't mind. Jiang Zhuxiang appeared at the right time. She was really afraid that Jiang Zhuxiang wouldn't appear. At this time, Tang Tailin had probably thought about it and paid a little more attention to the bloodline. It was likely that Tang Tailin would appear by her side in a while. She turned around to look at Jiang Zhuxiang's position and revealed a meaningful smile. Jiang Zhuxiang returned home. Because of the divorce and Jiang Zhuxiang's quarrel, Tang Tailin had no choice but to break up with Wen Lang. On Wen Lang's side, because of his mistake last time, the shareholders were dissatisfied with him. He felt that his position wasn't stable yet and planned to focus on his career. To put it bluntly, no matter how important Tang Tailin was, it wasn't as important as his career. When Tang Tailin suggested that they break up, Wen Lang was indeed a little upset, but he went with the flow and agreed. It wouldn't be too late to look for Tang Tailin after he settled the company's matters. Tang Tailin didn't come home until after midnight now. When Jiang Zhuxiang saw him, she quickly told him about seeing Tanghua today. Guogua has grown up. She's a very beautiful girl, but when she walked out, I recognized her. She still has the shadow of when she was young. I heard that the child's surname is Yang, Jiang Zhuxiang said. That child is too young. When she's with Yang Yuxuan, she probably doesn't know about us and can't be close. But Guogua is different. No matter what, she was at home when she was young. It's impossible for her to forget that she's related by blood. Tailin, it's been almost 10 years. You don't want to get married again. Mom won't force you. In reality, she couldn't force Tang Tailin at all. Last time, she cried and asked Tang Tailin to break up with that man. She was afraid that she couldn't force Tang Tailin to get married again. When the time came, Tang Tailin might leave the house and not acknowledge her as his mother. Ranwan, when you two broke up, Guogua was still young. Children don't remember much. She's also your daughter. If there's no accident, she's your only bloodline. Tang Tailin was finally moved. In fact, in the past 10 years, he rarely contacted Wen Lang. What happened last time made him feel a little sorry for Wen Lang, but Jiang Zhuxiang was crying at home, and he couldn't really ignore her. Jiang Zhuxiang almost jumped off the building after making such a big fuss. However, she had also promised that she would not force him to get married again. He thought about it and felt that this was a good thing. Wen Lang had a wife and was not divorced yet. Wen Lang's marriage was a business alliance, so it was impossible for him to really get a divorce and be with her. If they could, they would have done it many years ago. Calculating the time, his daughter should be 13 or 14 years old. Tang Tailin was a little moved when he thought about how the house was deserted except for Jiang Zhuxiang every day when he returned. No matter what, she was his daughter. Even if he didn't like Yang Yuxuan, Tanghua was his blood. Over the years, he felt that the house was getting colder and colder, as if something was missing. Tailin, let's not talk about anything else. As long as you can walk around, how about we invite Guogui over for a meal this weekend? Jiang Zhuxiang asked tentatively. Tang Tailin nodded. Okay, all right, if you're free, let's go find Guogua together. Blood is thicker than water. As long as this layer is still there, we can repair our relationship no matter what. Even Yang Yuxuan has no right to stop us. Peak. Chapter 4586. Tang Tailan and his mother did not pay attention to Yang Yuxuan's situation, nor did they know that she had entered the Xie family's social circle with Yu Yu's help. Even if she was not as powerful as the One family, with her own strength and connections, even the One family would not dare to touch her easily. In fact, if Tangwa could do something, it was only a matter of time before she surpassed the One family. Tangwa did not do so because it was not necessary. Now, Yang Yuxuan was doing very well with her own efforts, unless Yang Yuxuan encountered some difficulties and asked her to solve them. As for her younger sister, Yang Ji, Tangwa had been teaching this little girl since she was young. She planned to cultivate her into a talent. Of course, the most important thing was to develop Yang Ji's business ability. With her efforts, Yang Yuxuan finally paid attention to Yang Ji and felt that her younger daughter was not ordinary. As expected, after the test, Yang Yuxuan was very complicated. Although Yang Yuxuan liked her younger daughter very much, in her heart, she was slightly biased towards Tangwa. Tangwa treated her differently. Her original plan was that her daughter, Guogua, was smart and would definitely inherit her business in the future. Later, she found that her younger daughter was outstanding in this area, but Guogua did not seem to be interested in it. She signed up for one interest class after another, but none of them were about business. Later, she found that Tangwa was not interested in business, so she let it be. Yang Ji liked her elder sister, Tangwa, the most. In her heart, her elder sister was omnipotent. At a young age, Yang Ji did not know the evil in people's hearts and listened to everything Tangwa said. As a result, she had to face all kinds of training from Yang Yuxuan at a young age. However, every time she did this, she would be praised by Tangwa, so Yang Ji was satisfied. It was tiring, but her elder sister praised her again today. She read for a long time. For example, today, Yang Ji, who was still in primary school, looked at the task assigned by Yang Yuxuan after she finished her homework. Because Yang Yuxuan found Yang Ji's talent, she did not want to waste it, so she did this to test her. When she found that Yang Ji was not disgusted and was even interested, she focused on training and hired a professional teacher. Yang Ji did not know how sinister Darren's heart was. Yang Yuxuan was now living in a villa. Although her relationship with the Yang family wasn't as good as before, she still kept in touch with them and didn't reject the Yang family's concern. Yang family's parents also watched Yang Yuxuan get up step by step. Only then did they realize that they were very wrong. In their traditional thinking, they still believed that women needed a good man to take care of them. Now, they realized that it wasn't like that. A good man was great, but if they met a bad man, their daughter's life would be ruined. Now that their daughter was strong and independent, they were sad, and they felt even more guilty. Tangwa returned to the villa. Because Yang Yuxuan was worried about the two children at home, she hired several helpers. As soon as she got out of the car, a smiling helper came over to her with her bag and water. The helpers liked to work in the Yang family. The mistresses and young ladies here were very polite and did not look down on them at all. First miss, second miss has been nagging you for a long time? Auntie Xiang, has little sister finished her homework? Tangwa asked casually. I'm done. I'm completing the task assigned by President Yang. Tangwa nodded and went to Yang Ji's study to look for her. Before she reached the study, Yang Ji might have heard her return and was already waiting at the door of the study. The Peak. Chapter 4587. Yang Ji was 8 years old this year, so she wasn't considered young anymore. She looked very similar to Tangwa, so it was obvious that they were sisters. When she saw Tangwa, her calm demeanor disappeared. She ran to Tangwa with a smile and hugged Tangwa's arm. She said sweetly, "Sister, you're back. Are you tired from school?" "I'm not tired. School really wasn't tiring." To Tangwa, it was just a little boring. Yang Ji hurriedly pulled Tangwa into the house and told the others not to disturb them. She locked the house and held a book in front of Tangwa, asking Tangwa to explain it to her. Tangwa didn't refuse. Raising a capable sister who could share Yang Yuxuan's burden was her most difficult task at the moment. They were both Yang Yuxuan's daughters. There was no reason for her to do everything, right? Yang Ji didn't know that her sister was evil. There were indeed many things that she didn't understand, but asking Tanghua for help was the happiest thing for her. She really admired her sister. Also, her sister had been taking care of her since she was in her womb. She had a very good memory. She always felt that her sister had been taking care of her when she was in her mother's womb. She even sang to her. Later, when she heard her sister sing, she thought that she was right. Later, her mother also said that when she was pregnant, Tanghua would always tell her stories and sing to her. Yangji couldn't explain to others why she admired Tanghua so much. Anyway, she just admired her. Listening to her sister's explanation of those difficult problems, she learned them, and being praised by her sister was her favorite thing. Yangji was very smart. Otherwise, Tanghua wouldn't have to spend so much effort because she was indeed talented in this area. She explained the problems that Yangji didn't know. As expected, Yangji understood them immediately. Then, she looked at Tanghua with sparkling eyes. Tanghua said, "Gigi, you're very good." Yangji laughed when she heard that. She happily pulled Tanghua to eat. Tanghua was no longer afraid that Yangji would expose these things in front of Yang Yuxuan, because under her brainwashing, Yangji would not say these things to Yang Yuxuan. When Yang Yuxuan came back, she saw her two well-behaved daughters sitting together and eating desserts. At that moment, her heart melted. Out of habit, she walked over and touched Tanghua's head. Then, she touched Yangji's head. She never checked Tanghua's homework, but she wanted to check Yangji's homework. Yang Yuxuan was very confident in Tanghua, probably because of her childhood impression of Tanghua. After the checkup, the three of them had a meal together. After the meal, they took a walk and chatted. When it was time, they went to bed. They lived a very regular life. Tanghua didn't tell Yang Yuxuan that Jiang Zhuxiang came to find her. Even if she told her, there was no solution. She couldn't make Jiang Zhuxiang disappear. Besides, this wasn't her purpose, so she didn't bother to tell Yang Yuxuan. Just like that, the day passed peacefully. The next day, after school, Tanghua walked out of the school gate with Meng Shi and met Jiang Zhuxiang and Tang Tailin. Meng Shi recognized Jiang Zhuxiang and hurriedly pulled Tanghua. "Your grandma is here to pick you up." The corner of Tanghua's mouth twitched. Meng Shi's IQ was not bad, and her grades were among the best. Why did she speak so stupidly? However, on second thought, Meng Shi was only 13 or 14 years old now, so she probably didn't know much about these things. Tanghua didn't explain too much. In school, she wasn't the talkative one. Even so, there were quite a lot of people who liked her because she was smart. No matter what she learned, she would not refuse anyone who came to ask her for advice. She was very popular with her classmates. Some of them were afraid to ask the teachers, so they had an inexplicable admiration for her when they came to find her. The peak. Chapter 4588. Is that your father? Meng Shi looked at Tang Tailin in surprise. Tang Tailin was indeed very handsome, and he cared about his image very much. He would never let himself look sloppy. "My father." Tanghua didn't deny this relationship and said coldly. Meng Shi didn't notice it, and she didn't care. She watched coldly as Meng Shi walked step by step toward the plot she was looking forward to. What would Meng Shi choose this time? Seeing Meng Shi's surprised and envious eyes, Tanghua didn't look forward to it at all. Meng Shi's choice might still be the same as in the plot. "He's your father? If you didn't tell me, I would have thought it was a celebrity." Meng Shi's eyes widened. "Tanghua, you're so lucky to have such a handsome father who comes to pick you up after school. If my father did this, I don't know how touched I would be. You're too calm." "I don't expect my father to treat me well. I think it's good enough even if it's just a little bit." Meng Shi had told Tanghua about her family before. Her father was more biased toward her stepmother and younger brother. He didn't ask about the other people's attitude toward Meng Shi. The two of them had already walked to the school gate. Jiang Zhuxiang and Tang Tailin walked over and stopped in front of Tanghua. Tang Tailin didn't know how to communicate with Tanghua. Jiang Zhuxiang quickly smoothed things over. "Tanghua." Tanghua glanced at them indifferently. "What's the matter?" Tanghua's coldness didn't disperse Jiang Zhuxiang's enthusiasm. She still said with a smile, "Your father wants to pick you up for a meal. We haven't seen each other in a long time." "Then there's no need." Meng Shi was stunned. This time, She finally realized that Tangwa's attitude toward Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin seemed a little cold. She thought that these two people didn't look like her grandmother and father. There might be some misunderstanding. Meng Shi pulled Tangwa and asked in a low voice, "Why don't you eat with them? Aren't they your grandmother and father?" Tangwa retracted her gaze and looked at Meng Shi. "I don't want to eat with them." This time, Meng Shi understood that there must be some story that had to be told. Tangwa broke away from Meng Shi's arm and turned to get into the car, not giving Meng Shi a chance to ask again. How could she break her persona and reveal her secrets to Meng Shi? From her behavior, anyone with a discerning eye could tell that there must be some family conflict. Aren't they good friends? Then he should be on her side. However, Meng Shi was different. She felt that with such a good grandmother and father, there must be some misunderstanding that made them not close. Therefore, when Jiang Juxiang and Meng Shi communicated, she didn't try to avoid arousing suspicion at all. She even told them about Tangwa's situation at school. Jiang Juxiang's face was filled with excitement, and her eyes were filled with tears. Tang Tailin was also a little moved. He didn't expect his daughter to be so smart and amazing. She had always been a top student in the grade and was #1 in every subject. Tangwa did this to make Yang Yuxuan proud, lest she let her imagination run wild and think that her daughter was not good-looking, so she divorced her. As long as she got better and better, Yang Yuxuan would think that her choice was very right. Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin invited Meng Shi to a restaurant and behaved really amiably. Who would have thought that they used to be like this? After hearing Meng Shi's words, the two of them had complicated expressions. At this moment, Meng Shi asked if there was any misunderstanding between them. The peak. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.